are defined in general terms. Consent to sever a new lot from an existing lot, consent to alter the existing boundaries of a lot, such as lot additions or lot line adjustments, consent to register rights of way and easements over land, consent to sell, mortgage, charge, or enter into any agreement for more than 21 years for a portion of land, and validation of land title when there has been an error in the description of land. When considering minor variances, the committee is to assess whether the general intent and purpose of both the Town of Ajax official plan and zoning bylaw is being maintained. The proposal is desirable for the appropriate development and or use of the subject land, building, or structure, and that the variance is minor in nature. When considering consents, the committee must ensure proposals conform to the Region of Durham and Town of Ajax official plans and have regard to the matters outlined under the Planning Act. In all scenarios, the committee must ensure consistency with the in effect provincial policy statements and conformity with the in effect provincial plans. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant and or agent will be called upon, and at their option, they may provide a brief description of the minor variance that they're seeking and or consent application that they have applied for. Committee members may ask questions of the applicant and or agent, after which anyone with a direct interest in the application will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the application. However, once a motion is put forward by a committee member, there will be no further input from the applicant or agent or anyone else having interest in the application. After a decision is made, notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. The decision of the committee may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which is the OLT, by the applicant or a specified person or public body, as outlined in the Planning Act. Please note that third-party appeals are not permitted. The decision will become final and binding if no appeals are received during the 20-day appeal period. If a building permit or other approvals are required, they may be filed during the appeal period. However, no permits or approvals will be issued until the appeal period is over and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected of all present at all times. And let me now take a moment to introduce you to the committee members presiding over the procedures this evening. For my furthest right, we have committee member Bernadette Santiago, Lori Roberts, Ken Elliott, Tomas Baca. I'm the chair of the committee, Wasif Ahmed, and to my left is town staff. Moving along into the application portion of this meeting tonight, we have two applications that the committee has in front of it. The first one is for application A2324 for 112 Haskell Avenue, where the relief that's being sought is to permit uncovered steps leading to a below-grade entrance within the west interior side yard with a minimum setback of 0.2 meters from that interior west side lot line, whereas the zoning bylaw permits a minimum setback requirement from the west interior side lot line of 1.2 meters. Eric, could you confirm whether notice was served on this application and whether any responses were received?
Mr. Chair, notice was served and no responses were received.
Okay, perfect. And I believe we have the applicant here. Is that Ken Varatha?
Yes, I'm here.
Good evening, Mr. Varatha. How are you today?
All right. How are you doing?
Doing very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening. So the committee actually has a staff report prepared by the town that recommends approval. If you're seeing the screen share
Yes.
right now, you'll see the report. It is subject to 5 conditions, and I'll quickly read those out. So that the subject variance applies only to the property municipally known as 112 Haskell Avenue, substantially in accordance with the drawing submitted with this minor variance application, as generally illustrated in Figure 2, that an unobstructed pedestrian path of travel to and from the uncovered steps be maintained at all times, that an unobstructed pedestrian path of travel to or from the rear yard be also maintained at all times, that any existing utilities be relocated as necessary in consultation with the applicable utility agencies to a location that does not impede access to or from the uncovered steps, and that the owner maintain the existing drainage or property on the property rather, or this decision shall become null and void. And lastly, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town. Are you familiar with these conditions, and are you?
Yes. I did before, and I know exactly what's happening. And I already read the staff report, and yeah, I am agreeing with this.
Great. Okay. So could you then maybe tell the committee this evening, just in terms, a little bit about the project, what is actually happening?
Yeah, what we are trying to do is to create a accessory apartment in the basement, and then happen to be put the steps to go to the basement, and then we had the steps to go to the backyard. Also, it's like a go down and then landing and then go up to the backyard, and everything was done through the thing, and we already applied for the building permit also.
Okay. I'll maybe start off with the questions then perhaps. How many steps are we talking about in terms of how many steps going?
Three
3 steps?
steps. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll look for any other questions from the committee. Ken?
Through you, Mr. Chair. You're saying that it's 3 steps down. I'm looking that the entrance could still be requiring a light. Do you know, or can somebody confirm whether a light is going to be provided for that side entrance? And if
Yes.
so,
Yes. Yeah, there will be a light will be provided on the side, on top of the door, above the door.
so the figure 3 of the report on page 20 indicates that the adjacent property, the neighbor, has one large window and a second window above. Is there going to be shrouding that's going to be put on that light to ensure that the light does not shed as much on the neighboring property?
Sure. Yeah, I think we will face it to the front, so whoever coming, they can use the park, right? So it will be facing to the street, and we can put the shade on the neighboring side.
I didn't understand.
Said, I believe, Mr. Varatha, and correct me if I'm wrong, sir, what I think I heard was that you are intending on facing the light towards the front of the house, so that there would be sufficient light for the for whoever's using that entrance, for them to be able to get to it from the front of the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ken, any other questions?
Through you, Mr. Chair, what's going to be happening with the snow removal for this area where the walkway to and from, if there is very little space, is there some provision as to where the snow will be placed so that it doesn't?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. So the snow will be brought into the front, and in the area where they have the sidewalk, no, not the sidewalk, they will be brought into the front.
Okay. So all the snow will be moved again southwards towards the front of the house.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Right. Bernadette?
Just to add to that line of questioning, am I to assume then that the pathway to the south of to the front of the house, it will be paved? Because currently I see
Yes.
grass. So is the intention to make
Yeah.
sure that this will be all paved so that there is an ability
That-
to push the snow forward?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Ken, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there is an indication right above where the gas meter is. It looks like there could be a cable going along that side. Has that been identified as needing relocation, or is that something that's related to the air conditioning unit that's to the rear of the property? It seems to be in the water jar.
Gas. Yeah. The gas meter, they have to work with it.
Yeah, so I think, Mr. Ratha, I think what committee member Elliott is saying about the fifth brick up, just behind the gas meter, seems to be a cable of some kind that's running against the wall.
Oh,
It looks like a grayish cable, at least in the picture. We're on figure 3 if you have the report. that cable that's running against the brick, that's the cable that's being questioned, to see whether that's also going to be moved.
Yeah, yeah, we will be definitely we will move it if. Yeah, I don't see it on the last picture. I guess it's. Oh, that's a small one. Yeah, they will be moving.
Okay,
I
perfect.
see it. Yeah,
Okay, so that'll be moved as well. Any other
yeah.
questions from committee members? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Ratha. Staff, can you confirm whether there's anybody here attending to speak either for or against the application? Okay, seeing none, then I will look for a motion. Tomas?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve application A23-24, subject to all staff conditions on the basis that it is minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property, and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and the zoning bylaw.
Okay, motion noted, thank you. And I got a seconder in Bernadette, thank you. And any discussion on the motion? Okay, if not, then I'll look for a vote on the motion as presented. And the motion has been carried. So, Mr. Varatha, the motion has now been carried. It'll be subject to the 20-day appeal period, as I mentioned in my monologue earlier. And it'll be, if you do need the building permits, like I had mentioned, you'd be able to apply
Yeah.
for them, but just not receive them
Sure.
until the 20 days have lapsed.
Sure. Yeah.
Perfect.
No problem. Thank you so much, and have any good evening.
All right, you as well. Thank you for attending.
Thanks.
Move to our second application for this evening. This is application A2524 for 7 Bunting Court, where the relief that's being requested is to permit a maximum gross floor area of 104 square meters for all accessory buildings and structures, whereas the zoning bylaw permits a maximum gross floor area of 60 square meters for all accessory buildings and structures on a lot, and also to permit a maximum accessory building height of 6.1 meters, where the zoning bylaw permits a maximum accessory building height of 4.5 meters. Eric, can you confirm whether notice was served on this application and whether any responses were received?
Notice was served and no responses were received.
Okay, appreciate that, thank you. And I believe we have the applicant here online. That would be Percy Jayasingam. Is that you, sir?
That's right.
Okay, good evening. How are you today?
Good evening. Very well.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Jayasingam, maybe I'll just highlight to you that the committee here this evening does have in its hands a staff report that recommends approval for your application, subject to a few conditions, and I'll quickly read them out for the record, and then I'll look for an acknowledgement from you to see whether you've received the report and how you feel about them. So the first condition is that the subject variance apply only to the property municipally known as 7 Bunting Court, substantially in accordance with the drawings that were submitted with this application, and that the owner applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, and that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town. Contravening any one of these conditions will render the decision null and void. Are you familiar with these conditions, and are you able to oblige by them?
Yes, I read them. Yeah, I will.
Okay, perfect. So I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Jayasingam. Maybe you can tell the committee a little bit about the project.
So basically, we're building a pool house, accessory building at the back, and yeah, just Phil, are you? My designer, he was part of the meeting. Yeah, so basically that's about it, and then that's what I'm applying for.
Okay. All right. So we'll look for to see if there's any questions from committee members on the application. Okay.
I just realized I hadn't pushed the button.
Oh,
This is Phil Madeleine. I'm the designer on the project.
Okay, good evening, Philip. How are you?
Good. I can elaborate a little bit on the project if you still need me to.
Sure, you can.
Basically, what we're proposing is a pool house for the detached section here. The client wants a space to eat, to sit, and to cook. The enclosed portion of the actual pool house itself is only 23 square meters overall. The overall footprint obviously is much larger, but it's mostly utility, the enclosed space. Mostly it's just to entertain. It's open concept, and proportionally to the main house, it's very much within what would be expected in our opinion.
Okay, perfect. And maybe one other question from me then, I guess I'll leave it up to you between yourself or Mr. Jayasingam, whoever wants to answer. You are aware of the fact that this is not intended for habitation, correct?
Yes, it's all open. It's actually not closed in.
Oh, okay,
So the entire building is open concept. It's only columns and open air. It just has a roof above.
okay.
Okay.
All right. And any last call just on questions from the committee? All right. Staff, could you confirm whether there's anybody here to speak either for or against the application? No. Okay. Then if that's the case, then I'll look for a motion from committee. Ken?
Mr. Chair, through you, I move adoption of the recommendations on the report for application A2524 as listed in the report, as the application is considered minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property, and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Okay. Motion noted. Thank you. Bernadette, you're the seconder? Okay. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Seeing none, then I'll look for a vote. And the motion has been carried unanimously. So, Mr. Jayasingam, the motion has been approved here, the application, so it'll now move to the 20-day appeal period starting, I guess, tomorrow. And if there are no appeals, then the decision made here today will be, goes on the deed and it'll be final and binding. And if you have any building or site applications that need to be filled out, then you can do those, and they'll be given to you or approved after the 20 days have lapsed. Did you have any other questions?
No,
Okay, perfect. Have yourself a good evening. Thank you.
you did. Thank you.
We'll then move on to the other business section of tonight's agenda. Any other business to be brought up by committee members? Okay, staff? Okay, then I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Tomas?
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, can I get a seconder on that? Ken, see you first, and I'll look for a vote. We could probably do this with just a hand raise if you want. Okay, so the vote is 5-0 for the minutes, and the meeting has been adjourned. Thank you. Have a good evening.